Welcome back to Reading with DeeDee, and it's me, your host, DeeDee. We are reading Out of the Dust. This is going to be part 4. This is the autumn of 1934. The summer of 1934 was not kind to Billie Jo. She has lost so much. She's scrambling at this point to try to find any and everything to just keep her going, keep that hope alive inside of her while everything around her is dying. So here we have it, autumn of 1934. Hired work. My father hired on at Wireless Power on Tuesday, excavating for towers. He said, "I'm good at digging," and everyone who knows about our hole knows he's telling the truth. He might as well earn a couple dollars. Doesn't look good for the winter crop. Earning some cash will make him feel better. I don't think he'll drink it up. He hasn't done that since small. It's hard to believe I once brought in money too, even if it was just a dime now and then, playing piano. Now I can't hardly stay in the same room with one, especially Ma's. Almost rain. It almost rained Saturday. The clouds hung low over the farm. The air felt thick, smelled like rain. In town, the sidewalks got damp. That was all. Those hands. The Wildcats started practice this week. Coach Albright used to say I could play for the team. "You've got what it takes, Billie Jo. Look at those size of those hands," he'd say. "Look at how tall." I'd tell him, just because I'm tall doesn't mean I can play basketball, or even that I want to. But he'd say I should play anyway. Coach Albright didn't say anything to me about playing basketball this year. Haven't gotten any shorter. It's because of my hands. My father used to say, "Why not put those hands to good use?" He doesn't say anything about those hands anymore. Only Ollie Wanderdale talks about them and how they could play piano again if I would only try. Real snow. The dust stopped, and it snowed. Real snow. Dreamy Christmas snow. Gentle, nothing blowing. Such calm, like after a fever. Wet, clinging to the earth, melting into the dirt. Snow. Oh, the grass and the wheat and the cattle and the rabbits and my father will be happy. Dance review. Vera Wanderdale is putting on a dance review at the Palace, and Arlie asked if I'd play a number with the Black Mesa Boys. It's hard coming on Christmas, just me and my father, with no ma, no little brother. I don't really feel like doing anything. Still, I told Arlie I would try, just because it looked like it meant a lot to him. He said he'd be dancing then, so he needed a piano player. And Mad Dog would be singing. He knows I just love to be connected with anything Mad Dog's doing. The costumes Vera ordered come all the way from the city. She said special, the latest cuts. I wish I could go with her to pick them up. During rehearsals, Mad Dog comes off the stage after his numbers and stands by the piano. He doesn't look at me like I'm a poor, motherless thing. He doesn't stare at my deformed hands. He looks at me like I'm someone he knows, someone named Billie Jo Kelby. I'm grateful for that, especially considering how bad I'm playing. Mad Dog's tale. Mad Dog is surrounded by girls. They ask him how he got his name. He says, "It's not because I'm wild or crazy, untamed, boy, but because 14 years ago when I was 2, I would buy anything I could get hold of. My mom, my brother, Doc Rice, even Reverend Bingham. So my father named me Mad Dog, and it stuck." When I got home, I asked my father if he knows Mad Dog's real name. He looked at me like I'm talking another language. Ma could have told me. Art exhibit. We had an art exhibit last week in the basement of the courthouse to benefit the library. Price of admission was 1 book or 10 cents. I paid 10 cents the first time, but they let me in the second and third time for free. That was awful kind since I didn't have another dime and I couldn't bring myself to hand over Ma's book of poetry from the shelf over the piano. It was really something to see all those oil paintings, the watercolors, pastels, charcoals. There were pictures of the panhandle in the old days with the grass blowing in the wolves. There was a painting of a woman getting dressed in a room with curtains, and a drawing of a railroad station with a garden out the front, and a sketch of a little girl holding an enormous cat in her lap. But now the exhibit's gone. The paintings stored away in spare rooms or locked up where no one can see them. I feel such a hunger to see such things, and such an anger because I can't. That is the autumn of 1935, or 1934. She's now what she's holding on to is just kind of every little thing she can think of. Going to see that art exhibit showed her there's something else out there beyond what she knows. She has just such a small scope of knowing, and she's so aware of that, and it's so strange that she's very closed off from the world. She's very sheltered in a sense, but she still experienced so much trauma that she knows that there's something else out there. There has to be. She's keeping hope alive every way she can, and you can kind of tell she's floating away, and her dad is, in his own world, in his own head, just because he doesn't have the skills to help her. And I think a lot of that is true still for today, and a lot of family dynamics where we kind of look to the elders to help, but they grew up in a time where they didn't talk about their feelings, or they didn't talk about mental illness, or any of the tough conversations. Everything was just fluffy talk, so they don't know how to help. So we're having to Billie Joe is finding herself in a leadership role, and she's having to kind of lead her dad into hope, and he's got the job digging, like she said, he's good at digging, and he's making some money. That's good for him. He's finding his way back to hope through Billie Joe. So that is a super short one for today, but the next day we'll get into the winter of 1935. And so it skips almost a little over a year. It'll skip. So we'll get into the winter of 1935, and that'll be a long one. That'll be more like 20 minutes or so. But yeah, go ahead and leave me some comments, drop a like, subscribe if you're interested. Thanks so much for joining me this time. Bye.